in the early days, I would go with Linda Ronstadt to a local club and we would play. And then I would go to the campus of the University of Arizona where they have a fountain. And I would practice like until 2 in the morning because the sound of the fountain covered up the noise of my guitar. So nobody ever questioned me. And I practiced and practiced. And that's really all I wanted to do.
And so did you start with a band with Linda then in Tucson when she was still in high school or something? Or?
Yeah, I played bass for a band that had Linda and her older brother who became the chief of police. It was really a good band. The three of them were as good as any three singers I ever heard. And one night, another policeman walked into this club we were playing. It was a beer bar, and there was Peter. And the next day, he got a call from the police chief, and who brought him in and said, "We don't really think it's good for one of our officers to be playing in a beer bar, so you need to quit the band." And that was it. But Linda and I started out in a small folk music community. And like I said, we used to play together. I'd play guitar and she'd sing. We didn't do any duets. And then what happened was eventually I just ran out of time here in Tucson. My mother said, you have to do something. You have to go to work and get a job, or you have to go to college. And I didn't want to do either one of those things. So I left with my best friend and we went to LA and finally settled 2 houses off the beach in Santa Monica. Back in the day when that was not an expensive neighborhood, we paid $75 a month to rent a house. And that's where the Stone Poneys was born. I looked around when I first got to LA. I just went around and I looked at the scene and saw what was happening and hung out at the Troubadour like everybody else, and quickly learned that Linda was probably the best singer of all of the women singers I heard who got record deals. Linda was head and shoulders better than all of them. I was only in LA for 6 months before I started calling Linda, writing to her and saying, if you want to do music for a living, if you want a record deal, you should come. We'll put a band together. I have a great guitar player, Kenny Edwards, whom I met sitting in the back of a coffee house one day, playing better than anybody I had ever heard. And I asked him if he wanted to play with me, and he said, well, I don't know. I've never been on stage before. And I said I had a really good guitar player, and if she wanted to come, we'd put a band together and see what happened. And she agreed.
And she was pretty young, wasn't she? Like 17 or something?
I think she was either 18 or 19, probably 18 when she came. I think she may have been enrolled in the University of Arizona 1 or 2 semesters, I don't know. But she was in her late teens when she came to LA, and she came with her parents. They needed to check out our house and the scene and make sure we weren't all smoking dope, which of course we were, but not when her parents came.
Did you play at the Troubadour, or did you start playing around town?
Both.
Both.
Mostly we just rehearsed. And when we thought we were good enough, finally, we went and we applied to play on Monday night at the Troubadour. And really, we could have played one time and it would have been enough, because several recording people gave us cards when we came off stage and said, gee, we really liked what you did. You know, if you're interested, give me a call and we'll talk. But it was the second or third time that we played the Troubadour that we finally found our manager. And And he managed the Mothers of Invention at that time and a couple of other acts. But Frank Zappa was really huge at the time. And he managed them. And we thought that was a good start. And he in turn took us to Nick Vinay, who became our producer at Capitol Records. And then the rest is really history. And I should say right now that that was the best of the Stone Poneys, was before we got a record deal.